Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Ostrike, and today we will be working in our GoMath book, Lesson 6.7, Compare Fractions, on page 365. Our essential question is, how can you compare fractions? Boys and girls, we've been working for the past few lessons on comparing fractions. Today we will be using the common denominator method to compare the fractions. We've also used the butterfly method and also using a benchmark. Today we'll be working on using a common denominator. Oops. Okay. Now remember, using a common denominator, you are not able to compare a fraction unless their denominators are the same. So let's read our problem. Every year, Avery School has a fair. This year, 3/8 of the booths had face painted, and 1/4 of the booths had sand art. Were there more booths with face painting or sand art? Let's compare 3/8 and 1/4. Well, we have to decide which of these fractions we are going to change the denominator. The best one is to change the fourths because we know 8 is a multiple of 4. So we know that, so what do we know? We know that 4 times 2 is 8. And we know when we are changing fractions, whatever we do to the numerator or the denominator, we have to do also to the opposite. So 4 times 2 is 8. So 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, so now we know 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8, and they both have the same denominator. So now we can compare it. Let's shade in the model. 3/8. 1. Okay, that's 3/8. And let's shade in this model. 2. Okay. Now it's very easy to see that 3 is greater than 2. Please make sure you complete this in your GoMath book on page 365. Okay, let's go to the next page. This page is using a common numerator, and we are not going to learn this way. You know how to compare fractions 3 ways: butterfly method, common denominator, or benchmark. There's no reason for us to do this one. So we are not going to do this one. So you can mark it big X in your book. Okay. Let's go to the next page. Let's see what it is. Okay. I'm going to work on two different ways of how to compare fractions. Our first way is to get a common denominator. Well, neither one of these are multiples of each other. So, what is a common multiple of 4? Let's type all the multiples. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Okay. Now let's do the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Oh, these should be commas. Sorry. 12, 15, 18, 21. Okay. Do we have a common multiple here? Yes, I see 12 being a common multiple. So we need to convert both of these to fractions with a common denominator of 12. So we have 3/4 equals 12. Okay. How do we get from 4 to 12? We multiply it. Just gonna change my color. We can multiply this by 3. So we can multiply this, the numerator, by 3. And we have 9/12. So an equivalent fraction for 3/4 is 9/12. Now let's do 1/3. 1/3 is equal to how many 12s? 3 times 4 is 12. So 1 times 4 is 4. So, can we say that 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12 and 1/3 is equivalent to 4/12? So now is 3/4 bigger or smaller than 9/12? Well, 9 is larger than 4, so 3/4 is bigger than 1/3 or 4/12. Okay, let's do it another way. The way I know most of you find it easier is using the butterfly method. But when you're comparing more than 2 fractions, 3 or 4 fractions, comparing them all, the butterfly method does not work. But for this one, I'll show you again. 3/4, 1/3. Let's do the butterfly method. 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times 1 is 4. 9 is larger than 4. Therefore, 3/4 is once again greater than 1/3. Okay. Now on page 366, let me see if that's, I'm going to add a new page here. On 366, they're asking you to compare your fraction and explain your reasoning. Let's look at the first one. A. 3/4 or 1/3. Since we did that on the prior page, right now what I'm going to do is put down the answer, and I need to explain my reasoning. I used the common denominator of 12 to compare both these fractions. Okay. That method is called common denominator. I can also use the butterfly method to compare these fractions. 3 times 3 equals 9, and 4 times 1 equals 4. So 3/4 is larger than 1/2. Okay, so on your own, please complete page 366. I do want you to complete the bottom number 1 and 2. Do I have 360? Which says 1, which would you use to compare 11/12 and 5/6? Which method would you use? And number 2, on the bottom of page 366, can you use simplest form to compare 8/10 and 3/5? And I want to see if you're able to answer those questions. Okay, so on your own, you will complete 366 and 367. After that, we will go into group work. If you have time, you can absolutely go on to page 368. Any questions? Please raise your hand.